Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to another Guild Wars 2 class guide. This is our last and final class guide until the Revenant comes out with Heart of Thorns, which will be in a week from when this is recorded, which is actually pretty soon, and then I'll have a lot more PvP guides with all the new specializations and things like that. So just for now, let's get into the Ranger. I'll be covering the role of the Ranger, the meta builds, the weapons, utilities, traits, some combos you can do, and how to deal with the other 7 classes for now. And they've actually added a Ranger bot up in the Heart of the Mist lobby thing, so that's good. I can show off how to deal with the Ranger now. So yeah, role of the Ranger. So with the main Longbow power Ranger builds, you either run like shouts or survival builds. The role of this is to +1 fights, roam around the map, range pressure, and focus down single targets. So it has the great ability to focus down single targets from a long way away, so that's what makes it very strong. You don't have to be on the point, you can be pretty far away and initiate fights. It has pretty strong disengage and pretty strong engage through Longbow. And the Longbow kit is really strong, so I'll cover the Longbow weapon skills in a bit when I go through the weapons. So yeah, the role of that build is +1 fights, focus down single targets. Always call your targets whenever you're focusing them down so your team can help out. And the other main Ranger build is a condi survival Ranger build that runs traps and a survival skill or two, maybe even shouts. But Trap Ranger is used for evading around on point through your many evade weapon skills. Let's open this up. So you Ranger weapon skills have access to a lot of evades, making them not exactly tanky but hard to hit, which makes them live longer. So it's effectively tanky, and this gives the trap build the ability to stay on points for longer periods of time and to drop out massive condition pressure AoE and in 1v1s even as well that excels. So I'll go through some of the weapons, jump into this pretty quickly. The weapon skills. Ranger has access to sword, longbow, shortbow, axe offhand, dagger offhand, greatsword, torch offhand, and warhorn offhand. So I'll go through the main hands first. Sword is generally run in a power build or a PvE weapon, PvE build, because it's auto attack damage. But in PvP, sword is very weak, you could say, because of the auto attack chain, which locks you in motion. Like right now, I'm holding W and E and everything, and I can't move out of the auto attack chain, so I kind of get stuck in it, which makes it very easy for a skilled player like a thief or a mesmer to just burst you down. So any skilled like bursty class, engineer, thief, mesmer, warrior, anything, can just instantly burst you down as soon as you start auto-attacking, making the weapon set very weak. However, the number 2 and 3 skills give you access to evades, so that's why the weapon set is run some of the time. So number 2 skill hits a target, then evades backwards, and then you can leap back onto them for a cripple. Number 3 is another 3/4 of a second evade, and it applies a bit of poison. So the poison is nice, but it's mainly used for the evade, and in condition builds as well. It actually adds up to a lot of damage. So yeah, that's sword. Longbow, main hand. Longbow is what makes the Ranger pretty much. This is like the main pew pew weapon, I guess. It's like, so the auto attack, massive damage from 1,500 range away. So you can actually hit someone from extremely far away. Like, look how far we are. Okay, so we're here. So imagine there's like a point here. We're running to a point, and we can just instantly start pew-pewing someone down. It's actually really powerful. And Longbow 3 gives you stealth, and your pet gets swiftness. So you can also use that when initiating a fight, so they can't call target on you. And your pet can quickly rush up to the enemy and start hitting them. Number 4 is a big knockback. Don't waste it. So use it to interrupt a big skill, or if a melee class is jumping towards you, like you see a thief heartseeker towards you, you can knock them back. A warrior rushing towards you, you can knock them back. A guardian leaping towards you, just anything like that. And if you see like a warrior 100 blades on a guy, you don't really want to knock them out of it, or like someone standing in wells, you don't really want to knock them out of it, things like that. So use it skillfully, don't just press it whenever it's off cooldown. And number 3 is also really great for stomping an enemy, because it gives you the swiftness and you can quickly stomp them. All these skills have 1,500 range except point blank shot. And then number 5 is just like a big rain of arrows type of skill from other games. It applies cripple and deals a lot of damage to a big area, so this can kind of bait your opponent's dodges and help you set up for your longbow too. which is like very high damage. And the Longbow 5 skill continues to cast even once the cast is finished for an extra like 4 or 5 seconds, as you saw there. On to the next weapon, Shortbow. Do I even use Shortbow? No, I never play condi ranger. But Shortbow is a condition weapon for ranger, so it's used in many condi builds because your auto attack bleeds, your number 2 skill applies poison. This is all 900 range, by the way, so it's kind of medium range. And your number 3 skill, you evade backwards for half a second, similar to the Thief Shortbow 3, and you gain swiftness if this shot hits. So if they dodge it, you won't gain the swiftness, but it's just a little bit of damage and an evade. Then number 4 skill applies bleeding and cripple, and your pet's next 3 attacks inflict bleeding as well. Actually no, it applies cripple only, but your pet's next 3 attacks inflict bleeding. And then number 5 is a daze or a stun, depending on where you hit them. So if you hit them from behind, it's a stun, and if you just daze them if you hit them from anywhere else. So that's just basically an interrupt, similar to Thief headshot. And yeah, so it's mainly used for the conditions from number 1 and number 2 skills, and the rest are like utility type of skills. Then into Axe main hand, I have an Axe. Oops, let's run Axe here. Yeah, so Axe main hand once again is a condition weapon, so the number 3 skill bounces between 3 foes and it gives you might. I don't think I can bounce it here. It can be used in power builds, but the number 2 and 3 skills actually do a lot of conditions. So number 5, this applies 5 stacks of bleeding for 6 seconds. If you run something like a crate rune, crate, you'll see that this actually does quite a lot of damage here. So yeah, about 4k on a 6-second cooldown. Yeah, you see the axe bouncing there, and it gives you might per hit, so you can maintain quite a few stacks of might. And the number 3 skill just applies chill and permanent weakness because it has a 10-second weakness with a 10-second cooldown. And then on to the next weapon. What do we have? We have Axe Off Hand. Axe Off Hand is a very strong weapon in PvE because of its access. Let's just kill this guy here. Okay, so Axe Off Hand. Let's equip our Axe in the Off Hand first. Let's make sure we're out of combat. Yep. Equip an Off Hand. So Axe Off Hand, the number 4 skill. You chuck it out, 1200 range, and on the way back it pulls a foe to you, so it's a bit risky. It's very easily dodged, but if you're in the middle of a big fight, it's easy for an opponent to not see it, so it's just a big pull to you, and it pulls them on the way back. Oh wow, I just got in combat from all of them. And the number 5 skill destroys projectiles, applies retaliation to you, and is a whirl finisher. So let's show off this skill. So it destroys projectiles if they hit you, it's a whirl finisher, and it actually does quite a bit of damage if you're spec'd power, so if you crit a lot. And let's quickly finish this guy off. Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh great, we're in combat again. Anyway, so then Dagger Off Hand once again is condition weapon set, so the number 3 and the number 4 and 5 skills both apply a lot of condition pressure, and that's that. So the number 4 skill is again an evade, so that can be used in condition weapon sets for a lot of evades when you place your traps. And the number 5 skill just chucks a 1200 range dagger, which applies bleeding and cripple. And let's kill this guy here. And that's the dagger. Greatsword, I'll actually equip the greatsword and show you. But Torch Offhand is again a condition weapon set, so it can be used with a condition build. You can run like Shortbow, Axe, Torch, or you can run maybe Sword, Torch, and Axe, Dagger. So yeah, but this chucks your torch and applies burning, and then this one places your torch on the ground and is a big fire field and does more burning damage the longer foes stand in it. Let's equip a greatsword here. Spec back to power. Berserker. Pack. So greatsword again. Auto attack chain is not too strong, but it applies. It gives you an evade on the third hit for 1 second. So this whole bar here is an evade. So 1, 2, evade. So it's actually not too bad if timed properly. The number 2 skill is a big it drops a big bear on your opponent, which applies vulnerability, which is good for more damage, and it's a big burst. It actually has quite a high power coefficient. If this crits, it hits very high. A combo or a rotation is you can immediately hilt bash, and then your pet's next attack does 50% more damage, and they're stunned as well, so they can't move, and that means you can guaranteed get your maul off. So you can hit them from behind, your pet attacks them, and then drop a big skill on them. I didn't crit right there, it only hit for 2000, but it actually crits quite high. Again, I didn't crit. You can run Intelligence Sigil if you want on Greatsword, just for the crit. I run Hydromancy though, for the chill, so they can't dodge away or run away from my maul, because we actually have quite a high crit chance anyway, like 52%. Okay, let's see if it works this time. Wow, okay, this doesn't want to crit for me. Then the number 3 skill is a big 1100 range leap finisher. It actually leaps twice, so if you have a water field on the ground, this counts as 2 leap finishes. And it does a bit of damage, and it evades on the last second, so here it evades. And then boom, it crit there for 4.1k. That's not too bad. With might and vulnerability and stuff, it will hit up to more. And number 4 skill is a great skill because it blocks for the whole duration. So this, if any range attack hits you, it's a block. But if someone comes within 300 range of you, it turns around and knocks them back and does 1200 damage base. So while you can also activate the skill mid-block to chuck your Greatsword and cripple an opponent. So Greatsword 4 is actually probably one of the best skills on Greatsword. So this is a massive duration block. Then you can either counter-attack or chuck it at a foe to cripple them. And then follow up with your other skills. And then number 5, like I said, just a bit of damage and an interrupt, and your pet's next attack does 50% more damage. On from Greatsword, we have... I covered that, so we just have Warhorn Off Hand. Warhorn Off Hand's quite strong. The number 4 skill hits 16 times, and it builds up the damage, so it's great for proccing your sigils and everything. And the number 5 skill is a blast finisher and applies the following boons to you and your allies. So it's great for at the start of fights, for example. You can give your allies swiftness, fury, and a few stacks of might for some extra power or condition damage. I prefer to run Sword Warhorn for when I run a Power Ranger build, but some rangers prefer to run Greatsword for the block and the maul. And those are the weapons, so I covered all the weapons. Ranger has access to shouts, spirits. Spirits are a unique weapon thing, a unique ranger mechanic so far. And survival skills, signets, like pretty much every class has. And traps as well, that thieves have and guardians also have in the elite specialization. So yeah, the signets. So usually with Power Ranger builds, you run Signet of Stone because the active means you take no damage from an incoming attack, so it gives you 6 seconds of invulnerability pretty much, so you take 0 damage, but you can still be CC'd and take condition damage, so watch out for that. But you're pretty much immune to like a Shadow Mesmer or a Power Thief or a Power Ranger. And then in most other Ranger builds you run a survival skill or 2 because they can be traded very nicely. So this skill here, Wilderness Knowledge, so all your survival skills have reduced recharge, they give you a bit of fury, and remove 2 conditions. So whenever you initiate on a single target, you can kind of bait their dodges. Once you know they have 0 dodges, you can pop Quickening Zephyr and spam Longbow 2. And they take an instant burst of a lot of damage. And this also gives you super speed, so you can use it to get around to points faster, for example. Then Lightning Reflexes evades backwards, so if you're in a big high pressure situation, a thief jumps on you or Mesmer shatters you, you can Lightning Reflexes away, and it also does a bit of damage at the initial location. And this skill, Strength of the Pack, is really strong. Gives you the following 5 boons, and it has a pretty low cooldown as well. You can also run Entangle, so this also has a low cooldown. It's more for condition builds, but you can take it for the extra condition removal since it's a survival trait, and it also immobilizes, so it can possibly help you set up your Longbow 2 burst. Like so. And then We Healers 1 recently got a massive buff, so it copies the boons from your pet to you and you to your pet. So if you pop like Quickening Zephyr, it pretty much doubles the duration of it, and you get a bit of fury from it. You can also Warhorn 5 and then Quickening Zephyr, and then use We Healers 1, but if you need the extra condition clears, you can run Troll Ungent. And then if you're on a trapper build, you usually run Healing Spring, which is a very long duration water field that can be blasted or leapt out of with Greatsword 3, and yeah, it's actually pretty good as well. So all the ranger heal skills are pretty strong, except the Spirit, which just like instantly gets cleaved down. Spirit range is like a minion mancer. It works at like a trolley level of gameplay. Like if you're just starting out on a fresh account or something, a smurf, you can run like Spirit Ranger, but they just instantly get cleaved down and they don't do too well. But survival skills are mostly run, and then in PvE you can run a few shout skills, maybe even World vs. World, and some signets are run. In a trap build you run the bleeding trap, the flaming trap, and another utility of your choice. And that's about it for utilities. Let's see, what else? How to deal with the other 7 classes. So yeah, Ranger doesn't have too hard a time dealing with the other 7 classes, as long as your positioning is okay. So it's all about positioning pretty much on Ranger. Similar to a Power Well Necromancer, something like that. If you're newer to the build, it will take a lot of time to be experienced with it, but if you've played it for a while, like I don't even play Ranger very much, but just my like game knowledge and stuff will make it easy for me to play this build. So I'll just go around in a big circle covering every class. Start with Engineer. So how to deal with Engineer. Engineer has a lot of access to CC. We don't have much stability, so we've got to be very strong with our evades, and you've got to watch out for their skills like Grenade Barrage and their rifle jump shots. So you've got to use your evades very well, like your sword 3, your sword 2. I'll show you here. Evade again, evade here, and slowly whittle them down with your massive power pressure. And you usually don't want to get up in their faces. You want to range them down from far away because they don't have access to many gap closes, so that can't be too bad. If you're versing like a bursty Engineer, you want to pop Signet of Stone so they deal no damage to you, and then proceed to burst them back. So they don't burst you, you burst them. And I'll run actually Strength of the Pack for this. If you're versing a CC heavy Engineer, so with like a rifle and like any other CC type of skill, you can pop the Strength of the Pack so they can't knock you back. Yes, as you steal, he tried to knock me back there, but no. And then we'll just burst him here, evade. You can, when you're stomping an Engineer, you can face block the CC with your pet. And then on to Elementalist. So against a DD Ellie, you really don't want to fight that up in their face, because they'll just shit on you and never die. But if you manage to slowly auto-attack a DD Ellie down from far away, you can kind of get some pressure on them, and maybe your team can help you finish them off. Against a Scepter Focus Ellie, you want to pop Signet of Stone so you take no damage from their instant burst, but you don't want to really waste it. You want to try and wait till they get a few skills down, and then drop their big burst. You instantly pop Signet of Stone, and you can kind of burst an SF Ellie down with rapid fire. Watch out for Swirling Winds though, but yeah, against a DD Ellie you've got to be really careful. So Dagger Ellie has massive sustain and still hits pretty hard on you. And against a Guardian, against Burn Guard, we actually do pretty well against from our massive condition clears. So if a team has 2 or more Guardians, you usually you want to run Heal as 1 for the condition clear, but usually Lightning Reflexes and Quickening Zephyr is enough. And maybe even you can run Bear as your secondary pet. Oh yeah, so I forgot to mention some of the pets to run. Some of the main runs that you run are Bear, so it clears 2 conditions with its number 2 skill. With its F2 skill, it actually has a lot of toughness and vitality. It's very tanky. And your main pet is the Juvenile Hawk. So this is like the white, similar to the White Hawk or whatever it is, Juvenile Eagle. But it's mainly used for the 4 3/4 second cooldown on its F2 skill, so you can constantly use it whenever it's up. It applies a lot of bleeding pressure, high damage, and weakness, so it actually has almost permanent weakness, thanks to a trait here. So your pet's F2 skill inflicts weakness, and this has no internal cooldown. However, Beastly Warden, where your pet's F2 skill inflicts taunt, has a 15-second cooldown, but still, this is going to be always up pretty much, so we make good use of that. So yeah, you can kind of taunt someone with your F2 skill, and then immediately follow up with your rapid fire. and CC them to interrupt. Bring your pet back. You want to control your pet, so if you want to know when to send it in and out, that comes through practice, but you don't want them to eat AoEs or stand in wells, things like that. And there we go. A stealth stomp there. But against burn guardians, yeah, we do pretty well. Against meditation guardians, they can burst us down very easily, but if we activate Signet of Stone, we're pretty safe against them. And then against a bunker guardian, there's nothing you can really do but pressure them down slowly and try and apply poison to them so they can't heal through your sword skill, and then wait for your team or someone else to +1 the fight with you. So you shouldn't really be 1v1ing with the Power Ranger build, but even with a Trapper build you can kind of win your 1v1s, but it's still a bit risky. So you want to like wait for the team to come around and help you, and or +1 a fight. So yeah, the reason Ranger is actually in a pretty strong position at the moment is because of Signet of Stone. Gives you like immunity from power builds, and then your survival skills give you immunity from condi builds because it has a lot of condition clear. And then shouts also give you a lot of access to boons, and yeah, that's why I really enjoy Ranger at the moment. And the pet skills are pretty fun as well, with the weakness and the bleeding and the see, this skill actually alone does quite a lot of damage. It hits like 1k each time. And yeah, so against our fellow Ranger, it's basically who dodges the rapid fire better, but it's actually a really fun fight to 1v1 a Ranger. It's a bit risky, but you want to use your survival skills offensively to try and burst them down, but also still dodge their rapid fires. And pet control as well is very important, so don't send your pet in to die. But against a condition trap Ranger, you can burst them down pretty easily. Just make sure you bait their evades first, because they have access to a lot of evades. A great way to do this is to spam your auto attacks, because they actually hurt a lot. So if people don't evade, they'll just die from your auto attacks. And also Barrage helps people bait auto attacks, bait dodges, sorry. And yeah, so those are pretty much the two Ranger builds. Against a thief, if you see a thief on the enemy team, you might want to run Greatsword, because as soon as a thief jumps on you, just press Greatsword 4 and you knock them back, and then you can either stun them or maul them and do massive damage to them. But yeah, thief is very weak against Greatsword, but even then you can just longbow them down and pretty much burst them down. You've got to watch out for their dagger storm, like we just saw here. But once they're out of dodges or out of stealth, you can just instantly burst them down with rapid fire. Thieves also are very susceptible to your auto attacks. As you see here, we can pretty much auto attack a thief to death. And you want to watch out for dagger thieves, because they can get a free stealth off your pet, so you want to try and keep your pet near you if you're fighting a dagger thief. But against a dagger pistol thief, just auto attack pressure, rapid fire. Against a condi thief, use your condition clears wisely and maybe run Troll Ungent, and then Signet of Stone if you're getting bursted by multiple people, including a thief. So you have pretty much 6 seconds to kill them if you verse a power thief. And against Mesmers, so against a Shadow Mesmer or an Interrupt Mesmer, we have access to pretty much no stability, so you've got to watch out for that, so they can easily interrupt your rapid fire. So you want to auto attack Mesmers, and then until maybe if the Mesmer's not looking or focusing on someone else, then you can quickly get a rapid fire off, maybe with quickness as well. But yeah, so you've got to be really careful for interrupt Mesmers. Against normal Shadow Mesmers, just wait out the stealth, pop Signet of Stone whenever they burst you. If they come up to you and you see a Greatsword 2 flying towards you, you can either dodge it or pop Signet of Stone, and then proceed to burst them down through your taunt from the pet. Taunt means they can't move and they just stand there and auto attack, and we will just wreck them with rapid fire. So I'll show you a taunt combo here. So yeah, that's what you want to do to Mesmer, and dodge their burst. And then switch to more, yeah. If they kite you, while you're in Greatsword, you're pretty much dead, but you have access to the block for 4 seconds. But you still want to dodge their Greatsword too, because that's an unblockable skill. Against Necromancers, Celestial Signet Necromancers, they're actually very hard to take down on a Ranger because of our power pressure. They have access to a lot of protection and the Death Shroud and Life Force and everything, and they actually apply a lot of condition pressure while still sending out hard hits of power. So they're actually hard to deal with, a Celestial Signet Necro, so you usually want to +1 a fight with that, not go in 1v1. But against a power well necro, you basically bait the wells with your pet. Don't let your pet stand in them, but you can bait the marks with your pet as well against necros, so you know how necros place marks on the ground. Your pet can trigger them instead of you, so you can switch to the tankier pet like a bear at the start of a fight to eat up all the marks with its massive HP, clear a condition or two off yourself, and then swap back to eagle for an offensive play. And you want to just range them down, knock them out of their own wells, because the wells actually buff the necro as well, and then just burst them down like so. They're also susceptible to auto attacks like thieves, and we can just yeah, they take a lot of pressure. Once they're in Death Stride, you want to kind of wait it out and maybe even just start auto attacking while they go into Death Shroud, and then eventually they'll stop. Try and stealth and evade. Use your evades wisely. If they pop a Lich, you want to pop Signet of Stone and get the hell out of there, because Lich will wreck you in like 2 or 3 shots, and you can kind of kite them and range them down, but really watch out for Liches on Necros. If they Plague, you can kite them and longbow them down, since you still do a lot of damage to them, but you don't want to stay in the big circle they have when they Lich. So also if they Lich, you bring your pet back to you so it doesn't eat all the conditions from the circle there, if they Plague, yeah. So against a warrior, many types of warrior builds. The what is it? Hammer Greatsword Warrior is one of the main builds run at the moment. So that's double melee, so you can very easily range them down, because obviously they can't really get to you. So as you see this warrior here, and if they do, you have access to a lot of evades and blocks and stuns, and yeah. So as you saw, counter attack there is very strong against warriors because it knocks them down. And you can also taunt them and blind them and apply a weakness. But yeah, if you see a warrior charging up to you with greatsword, you counter attack and then maul. If you see them on hammer, it's very easy to kite, but just make sure you dodge their CC train, because once you're CC'd, you only have access to these 2 stun breaks and then your Signet of Stone. If you're getting 100, if you get stunned and you have no stun breaks, and you see them 100 blade you can just pop Signet of Stone, take 0 damage. And you can also pop Strength of the Pack if you feel that they're going to stun you with Hammer Train, so you can just eat all their stuns there. Against a Shortbow Warrior, that's just a very tanky build, so there's nothing you can really do against it. So yeah, we can eat the Hammer skills if we pop Strength of the Pack. Until they switch to Greatsword, then it's a bit of a problem. And we can block. And yeah, so against a Shortbow Warrior or a Condition Warrior, you just want to play defensively again. There's not much they can do against a Ranger, because Ranger is very ranged heavy, 1500 range. Like, you could stand back here and range a warrior down on a point. When they pop Endure Pain, you want to save your skills, just auto attack them, just to make them bait some dodges maybe, and when they come out of Endure Pain, just continue to burst them down. But yeah, unless a warrior runs like rifle or longbow, there's nothing much they can really do to combat you. So range is actually pretty strong against warrior right now, and there's a lot of warriors being run at the moment. And boom, down he goes. Oh, what? That didn't hit me. Yeah, so we actually got hit by a hammer skill there. But yeah, that's that. So that's how to deal with the other 7 classes. Weapon skills, explanations, the role of the ranger, the meta builds. You can find the power ranger build on my channel. I haven't made a condi trap ranger build yet, but I have started setting it up. And that's my last class guide for now until Revenant comes out. So see you guys next time, and get hyped for Heart of Thorns, which comes out in a week from now. So if you haven't bought it already, just buy it now, it's so good. And yeah, see you guys next time, subscribe for more videos.